Okay, I've come with a bunch of people from two projects. One is Black Lives Matter. We're having a campaign, Sarah Reid's campaign, and also Barack, Black actives rising against cuts, rising against cuts. Yeah, we started a new campaign about Sarah Reid, who was killed in Holloway Prison recently. They're saying she actually strangled herself, and we find that a little bit hard to believe. So,
to the general kind of atmosphere in the country during the refugee crisis, what do you think about that?
yeah, I mean, as you can see today, there's a lot of support. A lot of people have come out to protest about the stigma and the way that the media are portraying refugees to the people. So that's been addressed today, it's been looked at, and there's people here representing. We don't need to be scared of refugees, we don't need to think negatively of refugees. We need to research things.
I'm with an organisation called Matters of the Earth, and I'm here to support the Sarah Reid Justice Campaign. Sarah Reid was found dead in her prison cell earlier this year, and there's been no justice and there will be no peace until that happens. I'm here on this particular march because we need to stand up to racism, and all of the different united organisations, united arguments are all part of the same story. And you know, there's no justice for refugees if there's no justice for Sarah Reid. There's no justice. There's no anti-racist movement if it's not intersectional. Sarah Reid was a black woman who suffered from mental health issues, who was sexually abused in a hospital. She was actually in prison for being prosecuted for defending herself from that sexual abuse incident. And all of these issues need to be attacked and need to be dismantled and need to be talked about, and that's why I'm here.
In terms of refugees and what's happening with them, in terms of the camps, what connections do you draw from that?
It's about power, it's about racist structures, it's about global capitalism, it's about colonialism, and we need to decolonize, and that's going to take all of these different organisations coming together and realising that they're fighting for the same thing. I was at Yarlswood last week, and I'll be at all of these marches because it's due to racism, it's due to a system that oppresses mostly black and brown people around the world, be they refugees or not, and we must stand in solidarity with each other. So that's why I'm here. I'm not fighting somebody else's fight, I'm fighting my own, because we're all connected in that way.
I'm an arts therapist and I work with asylum seekers in a day center, the Southwark Day Center for Asylum Seekers. And we work with people who just arrive, usually from Calais or Dunkirk, and they get dispatched all around England. And I work in a hostel where people stay, and I work as in a group with women and children. And they sometimes talk in the art therapy session. They sometimes talk about their experience all through the way and their arrival. And I'm really shocked by the way their life has been completely shattered. And when they arrive, they have some hope, but everything seems to kind of dismantle in front of them, because they've been here and they feel powerless. They have to go to see the Home Office, and they are treated like animals, really. The way people sleep in those hostels, the way they are fed, but there's no attention to their needs, what they've been through is the trauma they've gone through, and people don't really seem to understand that these people have been, their life has been shattered, their home destroyed, and they are not here because they want to take things out of us. They just want to survive.
I'm one of the candidates for the GLA elections. I'm in the Green Party, as you can see by the badge. But what's going on with this country in regards to its treatment of refugees, its treatment of so-called migrants, its treatment of people over here who are of a non-white background. It's a very worrying time, you know, so I think stuff like this needs to be saluted, needs to be supported. I don't know what it's going to achieve in terms of creating any political shift, but the fact that these people have come out gives me hope that, you know, there are people in this country that are actually caring and concerned about what's happening to others.
And what do you think in terms of government? What do you think we should be pushing government to do? And I know you're standing, so what would you be saying London needs to do?
Well, number one, I would say that, hey, look, it's Gary Young from the Guardian. Look, he's got the world on his shoulders, isn't he? Look. Yeah, in terms of what government needs to do, I think first and foremost, they need to take back some of this toxic rhetoric, you know, scapegoating and targeting immigrants and refugees. I think that's the first one. You know, if you imagine the amount of billions of pounds that come into this country's coffers through selling through arms sales to so-called dictatorships and some really, you know, quite bad governments across the world creating a humanitarian crisis. Newton said for every action there's going to be a reaction. So if we're exporting arms and weapons and misery, then it's going to come back to our door and at our borders. So maybe some joined up thinking by the government could be a good place to start.
I'm Megan, I'm a junior doctor from Manchester. Basically, there's a few reasons I came. So the NHS is built on immigration. 26% of the doctors that we have at the moment were born abroad. And with the new junior doctor contract and the NHS bursary cuts, we're going to have fewer doctors and nurses qualifying from the UK, and we're going to need more and more immigration. But then also it's our duty, so we get guidelines that as doctors we have to abide by, and one of them is to act immediately if you think a patient's dignity, safety or health is being compromised. And I was reading, on average 2 children are drowning in the Mediterranean each day trying to get here. We've got people on our doorstep living in kind of squalor with open sewers, disease spreading easily, and I think their safety, their dignity and their health is being compromised, so we've got a duty to stand up and say that they're welcome here, but also that we want our government to be doing more to support them in the country, outside the country, and also to reduce the number of refugees that we're creating by addressing our foreign policy. I mean, I think the government and the media kind of use their propaganda, I would say, because I think lots of people aren't aware of the true statistics on immigration, and then that kind of divides us and that enables them to rule us. And I think if you have everyone worrying about, say, refugees coming here and taking our jobs or using our NHS, then they're not worrying about the people who really have all the money. So, I mean, I was reading 62 people have the same wealth as half of the world. I'm a lot more worried about that than about someone who's fleeing war or persecution to come and try and make a better life for themselves.
I think the role that the French government has played recently in this crisis has been absolutely disgraceful. They've been sending police officers in, riot police into the Calais camp. They've demolished large sections of the camp. They've attacked pregnant women. They've urinated on people's shelters, and it's absolutely disgraceful. It really throws any notion of European civilization out of the window. When in the 21st century, mainland Europe, we've got people living in those conditions in France, and if you look at the way that the French government's been treating them, it's despicable. But that's not to let the British government off the hook, because David Cameron and Theresa May should be opening up our borders to let in more refugees right now. London to Calais is a political campaigning organisation that have been taking food and material solidarity, clothes, helping build shelters out in Calais. At the same time, we've been involved in building political struggle here against the government's policy to try to force them to change that. At the moment today, we have a team out in Calais. They've been out there, they're building some emergency shelters to replace those that have been demolished by the French government. We're carrying on work like that, but we also want to build struggle and have demonstrations like this here in Britain to put pressure on our government to open the borders to more refugees.
I've come with my children, with my 3 sons, to really show solidarity with the refugees. Just as I work hard for my family, I see these people suffering. They had houses, they had safety, they had electricity. Now, for the last 4 or 5 years, things have got worse for them. Bombing, no jobs, no food. And really, we just wanted to send a message out to the powers that be that, they deserve a life as well. They deserve to have some kind of basic standards. They can't be can't be spending their whole lives in tents. So that's why we come here. A simple message. We're all humans, you know, we all deserve basic standards.
We're both friends and we've come from Lewisham, and we're here because we just want racism to end. We just want equality for everyone.